today's video, I'd just like to share that 94% of my viewers aren't subscribed. So if you are feeling generous, be sure to drop a like and a sub, and let's get right into today's video. Thank you. Howdy, I'm Daxio, and this is Plugged In News. And in today's pin update, we have unvaccinated students at University of Bath told to wear different colored wristbands so that they can be identified, as well as BLM New York. We need some George Floyd-style protest against vaccine mandates. Before we get into this video, YouTube has now banned any anti-vax talk. But none of my videos have been anti-vax. None of them will be in the future. So YouTube, don't ban me on that. And just right away, ask your doctor talk to your doctor about getting vaccinated. All right, now let's get right into it. And for the first story today, we have unvaccinated students at University of Bath told to wear different colored wristbands so that they can be identified. And this is coming from Paul Joseph Watson from yournews.com. And it goes on to read, first-year students at the University of Bath have been given armbands by authorities to signal whether they've been double vaccinated, with unvax students having to wear a different color. Freshers have been given wristbands to signal whether they are vaccinated against coronavirus amid anger at emerging two-tier university campuses, reports the Telegraph. Students arriving this week at the University of Bath have been given a different color wristband on club nights if they can prove in advance that they are double jabbed or have COVID-19 immunity. Those who cannot prove that they've been vaccinated are forced to enter a different queue, and a clear example of segregation. That's right, guys. Segregation is back, and this is happening in the UK, and in the future, I wouldn't doubt if it started happening in colleges across the United States or across the world in general, and not only colleges, schools, jobs, etc. Vaccine passports are being enforced on campuses despite the government's inability to impose them on the country after studies found that they would be discriminatory and ethically unsound. So apparently studies have found that this would be discriminatory and ethically unsound. Students at Sheffield University also must present a COVID pass to gain access to enter fresher events or union nights out, meaning those who fail to comply will miss out on social life altogether, with one student revealing how he felt excluded and feared being shamed in front of his friends. Can't really say much on this other than it looks like segregation is back, and in a bad way. Segregation should not be back. It's the 20th century. We've been over this. We know what happens with segregation. And for the last story today, this is coming from hotair.com by Jazz Shaw, and it is BLM New York. We need some George Floyd-style protests against vaccine mandates. We need some George Floyd-style protests against vaccine mandates, is what this says. And it goes on to read, when a scuffle broke out at Carmen's restaurant in New York earlier this month involving some unvaccinated black customers, there were immediate accusations of racist policies making the rounds. The New York chapter of Black Lives Matter quickly called for a boycott of the eatery and suggested that the protests were on the way, but it wasn't just the specific restaurant that BLM was taking the issue with. One of their spokesperson declared the entire idea of immunity passports and vaccination mandates is racist. I wasn't sure at the time if the idea had any legs, but this week we learned that one of the BLM co-founders in the Big Apple is planning to take some action. This creates a rather unusual alliance between BLM and some groups that are traditionally seen as being far more conservative. BLM stated that the vaccine mandates are racist. This is Black Lives Matter stating that the vaccine mandates are racist. I think this is what we need. The Democrats' rule of racism, or the left's rule of racism that anything can be racist, is firing back on them. And it goes on to read, a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter Greater New York chapter warned others of an uprising similar to George Floyd protests of last year because of vaccine mandates, reported the Daily Wire. Now, obviously, before I continue reading, the George Floyd protests were not protests, they were riots. They were extremely violent, so if you are thinking about going out there and causing violence, please do not. I do not advocate for violence or riots. They don't cause anything except destruction and harm, so We're putting the city on notice that your mandate will not be another racist social distance practice. Black people are not going to stand by, or you will see another uprising, said Shavona Newsom. 72% of black people in the city from ages 18 to 44 are unvaxxed, Newsom said during the protest. So what is going to stop the Gestapo, the NYPD, from rounding up black people, from snatching them off the train and off the bus? Not just black people, anyone in general. But at the end of the day, BLM called it racist, so it's got to be racist. The Democrats got to fight against it. We're going to see what happens after this statement, but who knows? It might all end. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub down below, drop a comment, let me know how I'm doing, let me know what I can do to improve, and thanks for staying plugged in. Peace out, crew.